Coaching Soccer Weekly, episode 391. What's wrong with Manchester City? Entertaining, educational, and inspiring soccer content to help make you a more effective coach, player, or soccer parent. Hello and welcome back to Coaching Soccer Weekly, presented by World Class Coaching. My name is Sega Rabinovich, and this is the podcast devoted to bringing you cutting-edge methods, techniques, and tactics for coaching soccer. It doesn't matter if you're an experienced coach who has been training teams for many years, or if you're new to coaching and working with the team for the very first time. There's something we can all do to take our coaching to the next level. Well, it's been a really tough week. I have family in Israel right now. One of my siblings was able to get out of the country. She was there for a program, so she's now out of there and safe. It's tough when the world is going through what the world is going through, and there is a soccer impact. Israel was supposed to play friendly games, or not even friendly games. I think they were either qualifiers, or there was, I know for a fact, there were international games and they were canceled. This has a big impact on the world. There are Canadians that are missing and dying, Americans, people from England, all over the world. So if you're out there and you're going through something and you're worried about your family, my heart goes out to you, your family, and I hope they're safe. I hope everyone is safe, and I hope this all ends very soon. It's enough. It's enough. I know we do have some listeners in Israel, and hopefully I can be a little bit of a voice of distraction and in this time for you. But yeah, it's tough. So with that said, let's get on with the show, and I will do my best to get you the information that I want for today's show. So we started going indoors, and as always with me, when I get into a new environment, it's tough. It's about getting a good balance between development, environment, coaching points, and repetition. That whole equation for me is something that usually takes me a couple of weeks. And we have two different locations, and one of them is a little bit more difficult to do things than the other. One is that gym at a high school, and then the other one is a gym at an athletic club. So the athletic club gym, that works really well for us. It's a really good space. They have nets as well, little blow-up ones that are always ready. We have a storage room there as well, so we can keep soccer balls there and everything. So it just makes everything easier. And with the number of players that we're starting to have at the oldest age groups, it's really become interesting, because last year our 2012s, 2013s, they were the session where we had so many kids. But now it's the 2011s to the 2009s. That age group is just so many new kids in there. So super excited for that. And this will really be the first year in a couple of years, I would say, that our 2010s have a team. And it's a good team, I think. There's lots of new players there. But what's interesting is that we have some really strong, big players. And for us, we're not scouting those players. Those are players that come into our academy, and it takes time for them to develop. But because they're already big, strong, once you add that individual skill that we teach with our deceptive dribbling, those players are going to be menaces on the field. On top of that, I always say a team is never complete without a goalkeeper. So we finally have a 2010 goalkeeper now. It's going to be his first year playing, and that's okay. But the fact that we're going to be in smaller nets because they're playing 5v5 is also great. On top of that, our strongest team, in my opinion, from outdoor lost our goalkeeper. So our 2011s who have strong players, that's still not a complete team for me. We need a goalkeeper. So it looks like our 2012 goalkeeper, who's been doing really great, he's going to have to play up. And that jump between 2012 to 2011 at this age group, which is that U12 to U13, is a big leap. So you get players that are really big, strong, and have gone through puberty pretty early on. And then you have players that haven't even started, right? So it's a very interesting dynamic at that under 13 age group, which is now going to be our 2011s. On top of that, most of our teams are getting used to new formations because in outdoor, we have 7v7 up till U10, and then up till U12, so U11, U12, they're 9v9, and then U13 and up, or 11v11. So our 2010s, which are going to be playing U14 this year, they're going to be playing 5v5. Our 2011s are going to be playing 5v5, so they're coming down from 9v9 and some 11v11 tournaments as well. And then our 2012s were 9v9, so they're going down to 7v7 because they're U12s. And our U10s now, our 2013s who played 7v7, they're going to be, again, 7v7. Our 2014s are 7v7, and then our 2015, 2016, that's a brand new team of players who some of them have obviously played with our 2014s last year, but a good majority of them are new players. So it's going to be really interesting. The great thing is about our district is it's not the biggest district. So the competition that we have should be at our level, I think. We should have, usually there's 2 teams that are very, very good, and then everyone else is either at our level or below our level. So we usually sit kind of in that upper tier of the divisions, which I like, which means we get a good amount of wins on our belt, and we also get some losses too. So we really have that good balance of, 7 out of 10, I would say we win, 3 we lose. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think though at the younger age groups, I think we're going to be really, really good, especially our 2014s. We got some really good new players in there. Our goalkeeper, absolutely fantastic goalie. So it's going to be really interesting. What I'm very curious to see is our 2015, 2016, because we have 4 really good 2015 players who are just incredible. We don't have a goalkeeper. And on top of that, we don't really have defenders. So that's going to be a really interesting team. It's going to be very offensive. So when I think of that 2015 team, I think of crazy score lines like 9-8, 7-4, just scoring a lot of goals, getting scored on a lot, just an end-to-end game. So that's going to be really interesting. And those 2015s, they are very offensive minded. So super excited for that. And just kind of seeing how the season goes. This weekend, we have our very first friendly game with our new team. So our 2013s are playing, and then our 2014s are playing with some of those 2015s who are at a very high level. That combination 2014-15 team in the summer did really, really well. So I know for a fact that that age group is going to do well this weekend. But we've also added a lot of new players into that friendly just to kind of give them that, just that experience of a game. So we'll see how they do. It's going to be some of those players' first games, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see how we do this weekend. This past weekend, I was also, for the first time in a very long time, I didn't have games and I didn't have anything to do in the morning. And it was Sunday. So for that day, it was Thanksgiving here in Canada. And I went to my girlfriend's house and watched the Manchester City game. Now, I've been able to watch the City game for 2 weeks in a row. and something's different. And I could tell last game that I watched where they also lost, that something was just going on. And the frustrating thing as a coach is that it's hard to keep on top of what's going on in the EPL, injuries, red cards, and transfers and all that with Manchester City that I used to be really good with. So that was difficult, but it was very, very clear that something was different. And when we looked at the lineup, Rodri was gone, De Bruyne was gone. And at first you think, well, okay, they've done it before, right? They've had seasons where De Bruyne was hurt for a very long time. Rodri's first season in Manchester City after Fernandinho left was very rough. He made a lot of mistakes. So you kind of think, okay, well, they've been through that before, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But when you take out players that are central now to the way that your team plays, and then on top of that, you add a lot of new players, what ends up happening is the decision-making process changes. And passes and possession that with Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne there would have been made with two players taking up that spot on top of other new players on that team, the decision-making was not at 100%. And I would say it was at about 80%. There were passes that shouldn't have been where they ended up in turnovers, and that shouldn't have been turnovers. Just simple passes and things like that. And it has nothing to do with player skill level. It can't. Not at that level. When you're at the English Premier League, you're skillful. That has to be, that's the minimum. But the problem is the decisions that you make. And if you make the wrong decision at that level, then it gets punished. And the decisions that I kept seeing that were problematic were twofold. One was crosses. And two was the understanding of what possession is. For me, crossing the ball is something that I see as lazy now. When I was growing up, get the ball to the wingers cross it in and then you score. And the laziness that has come with Manchester City is because now they've got one of the best goal scorers in the world and a true number 9 who, for me, is definitely one of the best players in the world in his position. But when you have that, you start relying too much on it. And I think just kicking the ball and hoping he heads it in has never, ever worked in Manchester City's plan book. It's not something that they did. For them, it was about finding a strategic way to create an advantage and then scoring. That's why you used to see a lot of passbacks in the final third for tap-ins, right? Because they were able to create situations where their forwards and their attacking mids would crowd the box and create an advantage. And now it's not like that. Recently, I've started taking the Barcelona course online, which I'll do a full episode about and talk about my experience with that. Essentially, for those that don't know, it's like Barcelona Innovation Hub. It's all online. It's all videos. And essentially, you sit there and you listen and you read and you do it on your own time. But right now, I'm in the second module, I think. And when I went through the first module, I kind of rolled my eyes and, and then started to think about it a little bit more. And it started to make a lot of sense what they were saying about possession, because for them, it's about two situations. Either you're in possession or you're in recovery. Recovery is when you don't have the ball and you're trying to get it back. Possession is when you do. And when I came back into my session this past week, and we were doing a lot of 3v3 plus 2, because a lot of our teams are playing 7v7 or 5v5. Actually, all of them are doing one of those two things. And that's really what we use to get them to understand those tactics. It became evident that when we have the ball, we need to maintain possession. And the idea is that we're constantly scanning for a way to score. And if we cannot find a way to score, that is always the first option. If you scan and you see a way to goal, whether it's through beating a player 1v1, whether it's through passing to a teammate, whatever that is, then you go for it. But if you don't, then it's about maintaining possession, keeping the ball until we can create another opportunity to attack the goal. Now, I simplified that way too much. I want to be clear because there's so many other little things that are important in that keeping possession, right? Switching the ball, losing your defender. There are so many parts to that keeping possession, but to simplify it, if you scan, right, shoulder to shoulder, that's scanning, and you don't see a way to score, and a way to score would be an advantage, right? Then it's your job to use your team and keep possession and keep the ball, because that's the only way to score, keeping that ball. And I just didn't see that level of understanding with the Manchester City players. A lot of the time it was, okay, let's kind of...
Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end. And you can check out more of our videos right here. And if you haven't done so already, I would really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button and the subscribe button.
To keep possession, and then let's just go. Let's just attack. Let's just cross it in. Let's just kick it long, right? And to me, that's laziness. That's laziness that shouldn't be happening with one of the best teams. And the only reason it's happening is because of lack of understanding, which means a lack of understanding decision-making, right? When to make what decision. Thanks for listening to another episode of Coaching Soccer Weekly. As you know, I record this show over 2 to 3 days. And as the days move on, we're finding out a lot more about the situation in Israel. And if you think that this isn't affecting you, there are confirmed people who have been killed from the US, from Canada, from England, from everywhere in the world. This is not a one-place situation. This is something that's happening and affecting everyone in the world. If you're looking for something to do to help the situation, talk about it. The more people know about it, better it is. People need to know about what's going on. Murdering children. It's just not murdering innocent victims, and the torture, it's not okay. And we need your voice. Those people need your voice. I'm not a political person at all. Least political person. But this has nothing to do with politics. This is about human rights and people dying. The worst thing we can do in a situation like this is stay silent. So I choose not to stay silent. I've done over 100 episodes, and I've always ended them the same way, but not today. This is to symbolize that change needs to happen. Stuff like this is not okay. So I'll simply say, be safe and pray for those that don't have a voice anymore.